Hi, Ray Dickey from South Carolina, Hudson Valley CAI, and Association Help Now. We cover many states. I did not load us up with attorneys today because I mostly want to hear from large scale managers. This is kind of our first program just with large scale managers, and I hope to do it on a regular basis. I'm thinking every day, Heather. I don't know if you're available. It's only an hour. No, it won't be every day. Maybe we'll see how it goes. Um, if you are here for CEUs before I have the panel introduce themselves, let me launch the poll. And Dawn, let's see how well you could do. What am I going to say?
Okay, so if you missed the poll, just send Ray a message through the chat and he will make sure that you get your CE credits. And during the broadcast, Ray may bring up some certain topics and request audience participation. If he calls on you, don't worry, he won't use your name. He's been doing this for a very long time and he hasn't made a mistake yet.
I would say that you're probably only 50% there, okay?
I'm never going to get it.
Fill out, you've heard it like hundreds of times. Fill out the poll, but everyone has the question feature. That's how you communicate with us today. Only I see the questions, by the way. Please communicate. I love comments and I love questions. I don't use people's names, so feel free to ask whatever you would like to ask. But disclaimer, you never know. I could make a mistake. I haven't yet, so don't send me anything too top secret. And if you're that worried about it, you shouldn't be sending it to me anyway. But I'm going to close the poll. And like I said, if I ended up not giving you enough time, just use the question feature and say, hey, Ray, I need CEUs. With that being said, oh, by the way, if you're here from Florida, you're going to get another link and you're going to have to do some extra work to get your state CEUs. That's just the way it goes, Florida. I don't make the rules. That being said, I am going to have our panel introduce themselves with who I see first, and that is Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Paton. I'm Executive Director at Seabrook Island Property Owners Association right outside of Charleston. I'm coming up on 19 years here, and I've been in this position for a little over 11 years. I have my PCAM and my LSM that I've had for a while. And my community is about 2,800 properties, 5,000 residents, oceanfront. It's beautiful. It really is.
It sounds very beautiful. Chris.
All right. I don't know how I follow up Heather. I mean, she's like the legend here. Chris Petrick. I have been in the industry, going on year 14. I'm with First Service Residential for 10 years. I'm currently the GM at Bully Rock Community Association in Harford County, Maryland. Property is about a little over 1,000 acres. We have nearly 1,500 homes. Build out will have nearly 2,000. Lots of amenities, great views of the Chesapeake Bay, and about 3,500 residents. Keeps us busy.
It's beautiful. I haven't been there, but I checked it out, and I think the golf course that it's next to is rated extremely high. Is that true?
Yes, the #1 public golf course in Maryland. It's like number 43 or 44 in the U.S.
Wow, that's incredible. Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam Clarkson with Clarkson, Macalunas, and O'Connor. We are out of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a fellow of the College Community Association Lawyers. I am the Vice Chair of the Legislative Action Committee for South Carolina. I'm on the Blue Ribbon Committee. We do general counsel, collections, and construction defect. And also relevant to today's panel, I represent over a dozen major size large scale, which are large scales between 5,000 and 10,000 units. I also have a number between 1,000 and 3,000 as well, which are also large scale. We have a number of those. I don't have track of how many across the country. So good to see you guys.
Thanks for being here, Adam. I do appreciate it. Tammy.
Hi, I'm Tammy Jacoman. I am with CAMS. I'm the general manager at a property called Lake Carolina, and we are in Columbia, South Carolina. We have 3,700 single family homes here. We're on 1,900 acres. We have a 200-acre lake. We have commercial townhomes, lots of different things that go on here. And I've been in the industry since 2007.
I have been to Tammy's community and had a tour, and it is really like its own town, 100%. It is absolutely gigantic. And I cried like a baby once because Tammy wanted to show me the dam. And I was like, it's too hot and it's too far. And then Tammy was just like too polite to tell me I was a baby. And I was, because I looked at it and it wasn't very far. So, but thanks for putting up with me, Tammy. That was a great visit. And I really did love your community. Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Eggleston with Hotwire Communications. I am the Community Relations Manager for the Carolinas. We are a fiber to the home internet service provider and the 11th largest privately held internet service provider in the United States. We work solely with homeowners associations. If your association needs a fiber optic solution for the homeowners, clubhouse, security gates, we are your go-to resource.
And Jennifer's always nice enough to come on, and we always like to do a short break midway in the program just to give everybody a chance. And Jennifer's always nice enough to be there. Dawn.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dawn Becker-Durnan, and I'm the practice leader for Acroshore's Community Association Insurance Division. And we provide insurance solutions for all types of communities, but we really do have a boutique focus on large-scale communities. And we represent several thousand nationwide. We provide employee benefits as well as property and casualty and many other types of coverages. I also, like Adam, I serve on the South Carolina Board of Directors, and I'm also on the Blue Ribbon panel. And I'm currently sort of working all around on the East Coast.
And Dawn has 2 kids and 2 parrots, and I believe 2 dogs, right? Everything's like in
yes,
twos.
And it's summertime, so hopefully they're going to be very quiet.
I loved it when it was, well, I didn't like it when it was COVID, but it was fun when Dawn's kids were younger and they were home and they were just like tearing the place apart back there. It was just so much fun.
Yes.
Nicole.
Including to the mute button, it works very well.
Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Miller of Ansell Law. We're located in New Jersey, and we serve communities throughout New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, providing general counsel, collection, and litigation services.
And Nicole was nice enough to fill in the last minute. Do you have any idea what we're going to talk about today, Nicole? Did Dave give you any warning?
Large-scale communities.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, so what I would like to do is just spend time with just the managers, and I'll have the industry professionals jump back on for us, because we're going to kind of do like the opposite. I want to spend this session kind of learning about the large scale community and coming up with even some future topics. And I want to hear what some of the problems are. So, and I know you're working on your camera, Nicole, but just so you know, we could see you. I always like to let people know, just in case they don't. You know what I mean? There we go. Oh, by the way, there is a packet, audience, that you can get everyone's contact information. It's all right there. So what I did, large scale. Can I call you guys large scale managers today? Would that be okay? I meant
Yes.
it really more than that, but that's just sounds like fun with the whole theme. I have a couple questions to get the ball rolling, but I don't really care what direction we go in. But size and structure of the community, I already think you touched base upon. Heather, was your description, did it include the structure, or was it really just about the size?
It was just about the size. We have about 5,000 acres, and we have a fitness center that's about 28,000 square feet. We have 10 boardwalks, an owner's area, which has an owner's only pool and a small meeting space. And then the other facilities on the island are owned by the Seabrook Island Club, which I am not in charge of, thank goodness. So, but there's a lot for people to do. But there's a lot for us to maintain ourselves. Our roads are private. Our drainage is private. So we handle all of that, including trash collection. And
is your boardwalk wood, or is it another type of
they're
construction?
EPay. We replaced them all with EPay over the past 10 years.
So they're direct on the ground. They're not, it's not a raised
Yes.
boardwalk.
No.
Okay. And you said you're right on the ocean. So that seems, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that sounds like a complete pain in the neck. It sounds beautiful and lovely, but I live right on the ocean and it's rough, believe me.
There's a lot to that. Yeah.
Everything takes a beating.
Yes.
Chris, what about the structure of your community?
Yeah, so I think just a tad shy under 1,100 acres. You touched on it before. We have a golf course here. It's a destination for a lot of folks to come here. We've hosted a number of like LPGA tournaments. We just hosted for the second consecutive year the Big Ten Women's Golf Championships. It's a PGA Championship qualifying course. But luckily, kind of like Heather was talking about, I don't have to directly manage the golf course. We have a great relationship with the golf course and do a lot of things with them. But I get the ability to not have to manage that headache every once in a while. But the community itself, like I said, we're just under 1,500 homes. We still have about another 450 to 500 to build. A lot of infrastructure work going on. We have tennis courts, pickleball, indoor pool, outdoor pool, 8 miles of walking trails. We're gated, have 24/7 security. Our residence club here is about 40,000 square feet. And our motto here, it's actually in the residence club, is life imitates vacation. And a lot of the residents that I meet are just so happy to be here and never want to leave, which is awesome.
Matt, come back. And we'll see you when we, probably about 10 of. Thanks for jumping on. Chris, when I hear life is like a vacation, I find, I live in a high rise and people show up for the summer and they literally expect like 5-star service. Of course, most of the owners here only want to pay for 3-star service, but are you dealing with a similar situation? Not with the owners, but meaning it's a vacation hotspot.
Yeah, I mean, we're centrally located. We're probably about 30 minutes north of Baltimore and about less than an hour and a half from Philadelphia. So we're kind of in that zone where it's a little rural, yet we're right off 95, so it's easy to access. And we get a lot of folks that move here from other areas of Maryland where they have 6,000 square foot houses and they have 20 acres and they don't necessarily want that much to maintain. But here, if you buy a house, you don't have to worry about any of your landscaping, any of your snow removal, nothing. We actually have Brightview Landscaping. We have their largest contract on the East Coast, and so it's like Disneyland here sometimes. I mean, when it snows, you can get anywhere within the community, but outside the gates, if the county and the city hasn't done anything, you're not going anywhere.
Well, it doesn't sound like you need to. Tammy, the structure of your location to kind of fill the audience in.
So Lake Carolina, we're not a vacation destination. We are 2 hours from the ocean. So we're kind of just in the middle of South Carolina. It's mostly, first home owners that are living here. So we have 22 sub-associations. We're a master association, and then I have 22 subs underneath. And we also have an amenity association, a lake association. We have a town center that's commercial. That's who we are. We're not gated. We do have a gated sub-association here.
Yeah, it's huge. And then your community is the one with the beautiful trees, right? And
we have a fountain. Like our fountain's what we're known for. We have a beautiful fountain in the center. Our trees. We love our trees. It's a big deal. We'll fine a homeowner $15,000 if they take a tree down and didn't ask permission. So we don't mess with trees.
Yeah. Audience, I really want to see a lot of questions from you because that's what we're kind of trying to do a little change on these sessions today. I'm going to have different large scale managers on, and it's a great opportunity to hear from people in the same field. And then we have our industry leaders that are going to jump back on for all the nitty gritty, all the legalities. And I even had someone you just saw jump on for reserve. So I tried to cover all our bases. And also, just so the panel knows, my knowledge level, I would say, is that of your average manager and board member. Large scale, I'm lacking. So you're going to kind of have to help me a little bit today. And I'm going to forget to ask certain questions. And I'm probably going to ask questions that are stupid. Heather's too nice to say that they are stupid, but they may be actually stupid. So we'll see what happens. Anyway. So one thing I did, actually, let me just jump ahead here. Because these are some comments that people sent me that I want to touch upon. But actually, I got a couple questions from the audience already. How many of the panel for the large scale communities are self-managed? Heather, you're self-managed, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then obviously Tammy, you're with CAMS, and Chris, you are with, I know it, but I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, First Service Residential.
First Service Residential. So there you go. And a lot of do you guys, if you're going to be self-managed, it's usually a large scale. Do you agree, Tammy, for the most part?
Yes,
Okay.
it seems to be that way.
Chris, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, most of the conferences, I'm sure I've run across, maybe Heather and Tammy at some of the large scale events, but the majority of the managers their communities are self-managed. There's not a ton that are using management companies.
Right, which Heather puts you in an even tougher position because you also have staff that you're responsible for.
I do. Yeah, I have about 20 staff. We do outsource our landscaping, so I don't have to worry about that. We outsource our trash pickup. And the rest, it's amazing what we can get done with just 20 people in this big community. It's just amazing. Everybody really works very, very hard. But you have to have all those. We have an engineer on staff. We have 4 engineering employees, 4 maintenance employees. We have our own GIS system that hooks up with the county GIS system, so we can track fire hydrants and signs and anything that's on the ground. It's pretty cool, and we're responsible for the beach up to the high water mark. And so that's why we have all the boardwalks and all that. Once you get to below the high water mark, the state and the town take it over.
I'm just making notes, by the way, audience. I'm not being rude or anything and doing Texas. Heather, I don't want to dive into it right now, but I can't wait. But being on the beach sounds like once again, it sounds so complicated. And even the legalities of it, of heaven forbid, I guess you put something, I'm going to guess, where it doesn't belong, you're done for. But
well, it's you have to be careful.
So one topic, so that answers that question. And size of staff. Chris, how large is your staff?
We have 9.
9. And Tammy?
We only have 5.
That's amazing but you outsource a lot because you got so much going on.
Well, and we're still under developer control, and so I think that plays some into it.
Yeah, I could definitely. And then if you don't want to answer this, don't answer it. Somebody is asking, and I agree with them. What is the economics of your community? Meaning, like, what's the lowest price home and what's the highest? If you're comfortable with that, Heather. If you're not, by all means, don't answer.
It's a big range.
Okay.
We're split between villas of varying ages. We have about 1,100 of those, and we have about 1,300 single-family homes, and then a bunch under construction. We're not developer owned. We've recently had some beachfront properties go for $6 million and more, and then some condos are going in the 4s, 5s, 6s. So
how about you, Chris?
Big spread.
Yeah, that is a big spread.
Yeah, so while we're a master, we have 2 condo associations that are also within Bully Rock. The condos are on a little lower end. They're probably in the mid 300s, and all of the other homes, the single families and the villas, they range there's a large range, anywhere between 500 and a couple $1 million, because they're all custom. The thing that I like about this community is, it's not like a D.R. Horton community, or not that there's anything wrong, but we don't have any just homes just sitting that are vacant, waiting to be sold. All of the homes here are built, upon purchase. So it's we actually just had D.R. Horton purchase a large chunk of property from the developer they're going to be building in here soon. So, but yeah, it ranges. It really does.
And then I didn't have, this is the first time I've had Chris on, and Heather, you've probably been on before, and Tammy. Just do me a favor, not that there's anything wrong whatsoever. Don't use company names unless you absolutely have to. Just do me a favor. Not that it's a big deal. I just don't need somebody tells somebody else, and the whole story gets changed around, and then I get a phone call from D.H. Horton, and it's just another 10 minutes out of my life that I got to talk to somebody about something.
Just a different way of doing things is all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tammy, what about, did I ask you already? I don't think I did. I got thrown off.
No, I'd say that our price range, because we have the 22 subs, we actually have a lot of people who come here as starters and then they continue to move up into other neighborhoods. But I'd say 300's probably our low end, and I'd say they probably go up to 3 million is what I would guess.
I'm surprised. Like, and I've learned this is a common theme. You know what I mean? And I'll start with Tammy and go back around. You're always going to be in the middle, Chris. It's just the way I do it to stay on track. But Tammy, is it difficult because here you have some owners that have a heck of a lot more money than other owners, and I assume that, you know, the way people pay is rated on that in some manner, but still, you got a $3 million home. That's a big difference between having a $400,000 home. Is that ever a problem? And if it is, how do you deal with it?
The biggest problem that plays into here is with our compliance, I would say. You know, that when we get our compliance people, that they have to look at the $3 million homeowner most likely has a landscaping contract. And so their landscape always looks amazing. Where the $300,000 home, you know, the guy's coming home on the weekends and taking care of his yard and has struggles with it. So, you know, you have to follow the rules across the board, but you do have to look at it through a different lens. You can't have exactly the same expectation.
And, you know, Chris, you can backtrack on a previous question if you want to, Chris, by all means, please do. But I have another question related to that. How does that affect your elections? Like, who do you find that one economic group tends to run more than another? Do you end up with lopsided boards, or do they basically kind of fit the same ratio that your community does?
Yeah, you know, a lot of times you like to think that there's a microcosm that represents your community. It's the same folks that, you know, attend all of the board meetings, but it's really not that way. I have to explain to people sometimes that because you have the majority of the same people that come to the meetings doesn't necessarily mean that's the feeling of the community. I mean, if we had hundreds of people showing up at all of our meetings, they would think, you know, then you would know you have some issues. But as far as the elections go,
you know what, Chris? Look, I'm sorry I didn't ask it right. I'm asking about the makeup of the board. Who's on the board? Who's making the decisions? Does it follow the economic kind of same ratio of your community, or do you find that a lot of the wealthy people, I'll call them wealthy, don't end up on the board? Is it equal or is it not? Or do you not want to answer because you're uncomfortable? I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's fairly equal. I mean, the majority of the folks that are on the board, they're all retired. You know, at some point in their career, they were the alphas of whatever they were doing. And, you know, Heather and Tammy can, you know, attest to this. Like part of our job as a manager is to, you know, bring all those differing opinions and viewpoints together to make decisions for the community. And our board makeup is it's pretty diverse. We also, I mean, while we're resident controlled, we also, because the developer's still involved, we have 2 developer board members as well. But no, they're great.
Heather, is your board, the people on the board, are they diverse also as far as the economics go? Or, and if you're not comfortable, I'm not going to keep saying that. If you're uncomfortable with anything I ask you guys, just don't ask. But go ahead. Yeah.
I have a 12-member board, and it's all property owners. We have about 40% of our owners who have second homes here. And because of that, our board, which is usually people who live here full time, tends to lean toward the homeowners as opposed to the villa owners. I think we have 2 villa owners on our board right now. Economically, we charge assessments exactly the same no matter what type of unit you live in and what value it is. Doesn't matter. You spend the same $3,000 a year, period. Where we're seeing that impact is in the villa communities, excuse me, particularly on the water, where the insurance rates are so high. Their secondary regime dues are escalating while their prices of their homes are not quite escalating in the same rate. So there's a little bit of an economic crunch on those units.
So educate me if I'm wrong here. So the people, I'll say the wealthy people, okay, and the not so wealthy people. The wealthy people are paying more though because they have the second regime dues.
It's
Correct?
the other way around. It's the the villas that we have tend to be the lower priced units, and they have higher monthly regime fees because of their insurance and maintenance costs for their particular units.
This is the last question, then I'm just going to drop it. Don't worry, audience, but I'm just curious. Are all the is the property size the same? Because
No.
typically, but everybody pays the same amount of money.
Yes, for the services that we provide, yes.
And an audience, I would love if you would help me, because I know that it doesn't work that way in condominium buildings. The larger, for the most part, maybe I'm wrong, but the larger your condominium unit, the more you pay. You have more voting power also, but there's a huge difference. Tammy, are you surprised that I'm surprised about
No,
this?
we're like Heather. I mean, everyone pays the same.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so I mean, just to follow up on that, while we have condo associations within the community, like Heather was saying, they have they're like their own association, right? Like I don't manage those two condo associations. They have their own manager, they have their own boards, they have their own amenities. While they pay Bully Rock for all of the common area amenities, like Heather was saying, they pay for their own association amenities as well. I mean, I just had a board member of one of the condo associations come in and say they just they got their reserve study done again and updated, and their monthly fees, their individual fees just for their condos, because they haven't done it in such a long time and have not been in compliance, are going to go up almost $50 a month. And that's not going to change our fees, but that's going to impact those owners that live there.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does. And then actually somebody had a question, and I'll start with Heather on this and go back around. How many compliance staff do you have? My first question is, Heather, when they mean compliance staff, what compliance in regard to what? I can guess, but I would like you to tell me.
Mostly it's usually related to property maintenance and architectural review, that kind of compliance. We also have outsourced security who enforce traffic rules and things like that, but I'll leave them to the side because those are pretty obvious. But the compliance that Tammy was talking about with trees and so forth, until last week I had 2, and now I have 5. So we're making a big push for enforcement of those things.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be happy people and unhappy people.
That's
Chris,
exactly
do you have
right.
people just dedicated to compliance issues? And I'm surprised that compliance was this. I thought it was going to be something more complicated, like compliance with like governmental regulations. But we're basically just talking about people behaving properly and following the rules.
Correct.
Basically, yeah. I mean, when I started here in 2023, my assistant, she was going around the community and doing compliance, and she had way too many things to do. So we actually hired a compliance coordinator to go around the community and look for, houses that needed to be pressure washed, or, just different things in the community that needed to be kept up. I mean, because think about it, that's why people buy into an HOA. They want conformity, they want consistency, they want to maintain and increase their property values. And if you have people, with engine blocks sitting on their driveway, that doesn't help, right? So I mention, and I always try and bring her up in my board meetings, is Kim, our compliance coordinator. While she does such a great job, she's the one at the end of the year that gets the least amount of Christmas cards.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Tammy, one thing that I learned that was interesting about this industry is I visit management companies. This was about 1.5 years ago, and they always take me to their nicest properties, right? Makes sense. They want to show off. But I asked one, I said, you know what? Take me to one that's not so nice. And it was not good. And the reason was that the board did not care about it wasn't the manager's fault. The board just could care less that the community was, and I mean, it was a mess. There was signs everywhere. Do you think that's a problem? Well, first of all, answer if you have compliance staff and how many, but also, do you think for large scale communities, you're not going to have that much of a lackadaisical kind of attitude?
Well, we have one compliance person, and then we also have an architectural review person on our property. And the compliance person, as Chris said, is the most disliked person on the property. We actually have a homeowner that at Halloween puts out a dummy of a person with a ruler measuring the grass, and they think it's funny and post it everywhere that they can post it. But I think that at least here, compliance is a big deal, because you do move here because you want to live in an HOA where things are controlled, but you also want to say, this is my property, don't control it. So it's a fine line of, you don't always have people in compliance.
And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Tammy, but since I've been to your community, I cannot imagine how long it would take to physically spend the time to really look it over and walk through it. Could you just give me a ballpark time frame on that? How long?
Well, he's required to go through every neighborhood once a week. So it's a hustle. He comes in here, he doesn't waste much time. He's out on the properties and then inside doing his compliance and following up.
But is it a 40-hour-a-week job or to do compliance, or is it?
No, we actually have it was, and we recently have created it to be a part-time job. But like I say, you hustle to get through it.
Someone is commenting, 2 people did, that the units all pay the same because everyone shares the common area. Well, if that's true, how come condominiums don't do that? All right. I mean, so if somebody can explain to me the logic on why in condominiums, you pay more based on the size of your unit, why is that not the same with large scale communities? It's I kind of have a theory of why it is, but we'll see if it comes in. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, more people saying me all residential homes pay the same, regardless of property value. Some pay additional assessments for condos if they have sub-associations. Yeah, I think that's what happens, right, group? I mean, if there's sub-associations, then you can get involved with different fees. Is that, anybody disagree with that? Adam will let me know Adam loves to let me know when I'm wrong. So Adam will jump back on and tell me that was a dumb question. Okay. Somebody sent me something beforehand and said, my board is like paralyzed, meaning like you have 12 people, I think I said, Heather, right? And they can't get anything done. How do you prevent decision paralysis in large boards when you have so much going on? I didn't make that word up, decision paralysis, but I liked it, so I'm using it. I will, let me start with Chris and give him a break and let him start first. Is that a problem, Chris, or your meetings? I know your developers there, so maybe it's different.
Well, I mean, the developer, while they own, certain areas of the community, the majority of where a lot of our like meat and potatoes type of work is done is at the committee level. We have 8 committees, and we have very, very strong committee members. I mean, for instance, my buildings and grounds committee, they're, 7 retired engineers and architects. And, it's bringing those personalities together, because a lot of times they like to aim, but never fire. And so a lot of times, you have to come to them and let them know, hey, listen, we're trying to do something for the community. Owners expect to see their assessments being used to maintain the community, build infrastructure, things like that. And when you break it down to a granular level like that, then things can get moving fairly quickly. So, again, for me, a lot of the work is done through the committee. So once, something gets approved by the Buildings and Grounds Committee, then it goes to Budget and Finance. And then once I have those 2, then I go to the board and I say, hey, listen, got the approval from these 2 committees. Now the board approves it, and then we get in front of the community and say, here you go.
Thanks, Chris. Tammy, I was just visiting a community like 2 weeks ago. They have 40 committees, and I was very much impressed by how they organize it all. Do you rely on I guess it varies from, what's your committee structure like?
Well, and it does vary. Like I say, we're still under developer control. So I have to say I have no committees at the moment.
Okay. All right.
And I only have 3 board members. I can't imagine Heather saying 12.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Heather, have you ever seen, not this board, because I'm not going to put you on the spot with them, but have you ever seen a board paralysis? Is this a real thing, or is this just something that was cool on the internet that I found?
I have not experienced that. I've had very active boards.
Yeah, because the person said their board was just so frustrated. Maybe I was wrong to use the word paralysis, because I put that in. They said that their board wasn't getting any final decisions made. But you've never seen that happen?
No.
Okay.
I haven't. We have 10 committees that make recommendations to the board. And I don't know about the rest of the group, but we use a policy governance model. So the committee sets policy and then staff implements it. And we have the committees for the past the board for the past 5 years or more has been very goal driven. So they'll set out goals for the year, and then every 3 months they actually report on where they are with those goals. So it really keeps them focused. We've gotten a lot done.
And I know I have a bunch of large scale managers out in the audience because I recognize your name. So help me out here and come up with some really highly technical questions that I can take advantage of these 3 great large scale managers while we have them here. This is kind of I wanted to throw this question at you guys because I thought it may be a good way to bring up something that maybe our audience hasn't thought about. Remember, like, we want to kind of like help some large scale managers that maybe haven't been around as long as you guys have been, but we don't want to have a whole lesson on the basics here. But I'll start with you, Heather. It's a really hard one though. What would you consider a win? Does that make any sense to you? Did you ever have a win that you're proud of?
Or just a win in general, like on a daily basis, or something that we.
However you want to talk about it. You're a large scale manager. You got a lot of things going on. Has there ever been something you've just said, man, that's a win? But maybe there's not. Maybe there's so much going on every day, you can't answer it.
Yeah, I used to say that a lot more before Nextdoor came on the scene. I think one of the biggest wins we've had is our Audubon certification. And that's really been significant. It really colors how we approach everything from a sustainability position, environmentally. It all feeds into how we think. So that's been our focus since 2017. We just got recertified again this year. And that to me is a big win for the community. It's they're very nature oriented, physical fitness oriented, and that's changed and improved since we got that designation.
I have so many questions about that, but I'm just let me make sure I get through the rest of the panel because I think that's such a great certification, right? And I don't think maybe a lot of people in the audience know about it. Chris, is there anything that maybe there isn't?
I would say, building great relationships, right? With like the city, the county government, really knowing who the players are, attending things, setting up, like we have a quarterly meeting with the mayor's office, just to make sure that we're on the same page with everything. And then, as far as relationships go, from small to large projects, I would consider it a win when you can bring so many committee members to collaborate and see a project all the way through to the finish line, right? Like we just completed a $1 million rooftop unit project for our 40,000 square foot residence club. And, that was, it was, there was a lot of engineering. There was a lot of, discussions. There was a lot of things that went into that. And just seeing everyone, being collaborative to see it through was a win.
That's what I was looking for. You could pick one project. That doesn't mean you never did another one. So that was your latest win, was how your roof project went, and you brought everybody together and you felt like you did a great job and everyone else did. Yeah. Tammy, and I'm going to have the rest of my panel all jump back on. Tammy, what about you? Is there something with large scale that has happened to you that you consider to win?
I think our biggest winner, I feel, is our events. You just get that complaining and dissatisfaction, and then you put on these events. We have events every month, and just bringing people together, and everyone's having a nice time, and it's just so rewarding.
So brother. Okay.
That's my win here.
All right. You guys are so nice. You're so great at your job. I thought you guys were going to tell me, like, I know here we just had we redid our patio and our deck, and it was torture for the board, and it looks great, but they were just brutalized for like months on end while this thing went on. You know what I mean? And if I was them, I would consider that a win. Everybody loves it. It came out great, but they were abused. Panel, everyone else could jump back on also. A lot of people were complaining about people complaining. Some of these questions I'm going to skip, and I'll get back to people like, does your committee, do you ever have an out of control committee? I want to try to stay focused on things that are large scale. That's a common theme, and I think everyone would agree. Sure, a lot of people have out of control committees that think they're the new board. I don't know if anybody wants to disagree with me. Adam? Okay, Adam's not disagreeing, so I'm right on that one. Just looking at some of these other things. How do you manage your committees? We're actually going to do a whole session on how to manage committees. I think for large scale, it's a little tougher though, because you are so dependent on it. Large scale managers, anybody disagree with me? I mean, you really need your committees because you have a lot going on. You depend on them compared to a smaller association. Anybody disagree? Okay. Adam, do you see how easy it is to work with large scale managers? They're not like the attorneys. They're not constantly telling me that I'm wrong. I love it. I love the reinforcement that I'm getting. And okay, yep, everybody loves committees. All right, so what I did here is I'm just industry leaders. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I do want to give you time to offer commentary that is related to large scale communities that would make our panel think and our audience think. And I know you had no warning. So I'm going to start with reserves first, and that would be Matt. Matt, large scale, what is an overlooked reserve item, or what is an item that's tough for managers to get boards to sign off on?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for having me today. I think one of the biggest overlooked things, especially for large scale, is drainage, ponds, drainage systems. A lot of those components are out of sight, out of mind, underground, and just often get forgotten when it comes to planning. I'll touch on something that Chris mentioned before, and really on the committee topic a little bit, like having those engineers and architects on a committee, being a reserve committee or whatever it might be, is just invaluable resource. The challenge, I think one of the biggest pitfalls is that you're going to have lots of different opinions and lots of turnover, right? Because you're not going to, that committee is going to be going in different directions if you let it. So having like a central, I love the policy governance model, Heather, that you use, but having like a central set of policies that are in place that don't change from year to year, having a plan in place that kind of, whether you're on the committee this year or not, is being executed is extraordinarily helpful, challenging, but helpful. And part of that, that reserve study, if you can say, okay, we've got ponds, we know we're going to be setting aside this much for that, to have that plan in place and everyone to try to stay on track instead of getting pulled in a different direction every time the committee changes over, is really helpful and a challenge.
And Matt, introduce yourself really quickly, please.
Sorry, yeah, Matt with Reserve Advisors, and I was the one that came late. I'm sorry, I got tied in.
We have to come up with a penalty when people log in. I mean, you never really do, but we have to come up with some kind of penalty. I think.
Deserve it.
Well, it's okay, man. You're such a great supporter. So, Heather, I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to ask you what is the number one biggest hassle being on the ocean. Tammy, I'm going to come to you and just look for the number one problem you have with that gigantic dam. And then I'm going to ask you once again to remind the audience how large it is. Chris, I'm going to come to you and ask you if you have any water related issues. All right. In the meantime, insurance. Dawn, do large scale communities need insurance or can they just wing it?
They need a lot of insurance. They need all sorts of insurance. And the biggest part of the insurance is the liability. They don't tend to have as much property coverage that's needed. Maybe they have a clubhouse and some other structures, but it's really the liability. There's many more owners, many more problems. And so the D&O and the general liability umbrella, those tend to be where the large scale communities are focusing a lot of their insurance premiums and a lot of their budgeting costs.
What are they missing, Dawn? I meant not our group, but what do you find most large scale communities either under or shore or just miss it outright?
Two things. Umbrella liability. A lot of them do not have the increased limits that they should have. We are seeing extremely large jury awards with our large scale communities, deeper pockets. Plus, someone lives all the way on one end. They're not always paying attention to what's going on the other end until it hits them in the pocket with a special assessment. And the number two is workplace violence. Larger communities, group gatherings, there's a lot more events. I would say that there's definitely more of a need for that type of insurance that encompasses all the types of exposures that occur where people can get a little grumpy with each other and there's more of a risk, especially if there's private roads, private events, those type of things.
Yeah, we just did that live stream a couple of things back and I'm still hearing stories about people that have been the victims of violence. I feel awful about it for them. But anyway, all right, legal. Nicole, when you hear large scale, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it billable hours? You could be honest. Well, actually, you know what, Nicole, let me ask you something. I'm serious.
Okay.
Do any certain communities generate more litigation and more billable legal hours than other? I'm going to guess like high rises, but go ahead.
Yes. And I will say the communities that have more retirees, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like 55 and older or anything, but have more retirees around, and they have more time invested in making sure there's compliance, especially that's a big one. They tend to be the ones that generate more litigation, more fees, more issues. And then also communities that have poor financial tend to generate a lot of collection type work with more fees.
So, oh, by the way, I'm getting a lot of reserve questions, Matt. So maybe you could stay after a little while longer and we'll do something we call overtime. I mean, if you're here for CEUs and you have to split, and I let the panel split too. But if Matt, I don't know, if you're busy, by all means, tell me you are. But if you could stay, we'll just kind of go through them for people in a very casual. Nicole, before I interrupted you though, about the question, I was curious, was there anything else you wanted to say about large scale communities or something that makes them unique, or are they missing something legally, overlooking?
No, what I think is something that makes them unique is like some of the managers here talked about how they're running the master association, and then you have other associations inside. And I think sometimes there can be issues with coordination and that you run into when you have sub-communities within there, and making sure you're covered at all levels.
Dawn knows so much about legal. She really does, honestly. She truly does. Adam, large scale community. Oh, someone is asking Nicole, which association? I didn't hear it either. What is the association that generates the most income? Was it high rises?
No, it's not necessarily tied to a type of community. It's more about the residents that are there and the type of board that they have.
I'm just like you, audience member. I just have to have simple answers. Okay. All right. Thank you, Nicole. Adam, you hear large scale. What is something, this may be a hard question, that they don't think of?
Well, you know, I'll say something and it kind of piggybacks in related to what Don was talking about. And it's particularly, I see managers that are new to large scale have a lot of problems with this and difficulty, and they're not used to it. And managers that are been in large scale a long time understand this, but the level of due diligence, and the same thing applies to high rises as well. The level of due diligence that is required of the management team and the board is substantially higher. You have higher expectations. You've got a larger breadth of resources for which to take care of the matters. You've got a huge community. You've got a lot, just got in scope. You've got a lot more you got to take care of. So the decisions in the manner you make a decision, the manner in which you the level of diligence and expert communication and everything you go into that you would do at, say, a 100, 200, 300, 500 unit association is completely different at a 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 unit association. Once you get into the thousands, you're really, there's a lot more eyes on you from all the unit owners at once. So you've got that many more plaintiffs for any particular action. But also, even if you just get into generalized litigation, you're expected to be treating this as a larger source. You've got, it's just more assets require more diligence. And I would say that's the biggest mistake that I see with managers that are new to, they're coming up, they've been wanting to get large scale forever. They make it from, they were on a smaller, they might have been on site at a small one, or they may have been a wonderful portfolio manager. They jump into large scale and they're letting their boards, and they are making their decisions and letting the boards make decisions, minimal diligence. And the same thing that we do at 200 unit, and that's not going to hold up. It's going to be a problem on the DNO side in the event there's a defense situation. So yeah, I'd say that's one that jumps right out.
Thank you. Large scale managers. The other thing, we're gonna do a quick break that takes 1 minute, but also I'm also going to come to you guys, and I'm going to ask what would be a future topic you would like to see. And audience, now would be a good time. I mean, if you send me the topics, we will do them. But I really would like to hear from them. I can kind of make up the topics on my own for the other stuff, but for large scale, there's so much going on that I don't know about it. I would just love to see the topic ideas come in. So you guys got 2 things coming up large scale. In the meantime, Jennifer, I always appreciate you being here from Hotwire. So we're going to do a quick giveaway. I don't know. I think like 50 people registered. I don't know how many people are here, but what number do you want? Jennifer picks a number, and who's ever that number, the registration count, it's here wins. What number do you want to pick?
Today it's 36.
I always give Jennifer a hard time on the number she picked because I psychologically evaluate it. Nicole, it was so weird. Nicole was picking like 2. Jennifer was picking like 2, Nicole, and then she would pick like a super high number, like 99. You must admit, Nicole, that's strange, right? No, Nicole, I'm putting you on a spot. You don't have to answer that. Okay, now I have Jennifer all paranoid. All right, about what number to pick. Anyway, and she's nice enough to be here. Here's the poll question. How often do large scale managers get to eat their lunch uninterrupted? And anyone can answer the poll in the audience. What is going to be your answer, Jennifer, before I poll everyone? Is it 50%? Is it less than half or more than half?
If I were a betting person, less than half. Oops, did I answer?
Okay. Well, let's see what happens.
Okay.
And I'm going to launch the poll.
All right.
And while that's coming in, Heather, how often do you get to eat your lunch uninterrupted? More or less?
0.
0. Oh my gosh. Okay. How about you, Chris? Now Chris is going to feel bad if he says, I get to eat my lunch every day for an hour and a half with my feet
Well, I
on
was
my
going to say,
desk.
I make sure I get my lunch. I mean, it might not be at 12 o'clock. It might be at 3 o'clock, but I'll make sure that I find a time to either go to the golf course and grab lunch or I just eat from the office.
Now, Tammy, we know that the attorneys go out to a steakhouse every day. I see it on TV, and the TV attorneys are always at steakhouses every day, having popular, very expensive meals, and having cocktails. They start cocktails at noon. Tammy, what about you? How are you like attorneys, or how often do you get to eat your lunch uninterrupted?
Well, I am like Chris. After many years in this industry, I found that you need to take your lunch. So I do walk away every day. And like Chris, it might not be at noon, it might be at 2, it might be at 3, but at some point I'm going to walk away for a little bit.
90% of the audience, it wasn't even close, said they get to eat their lunch uninterrupted half of the amount of time. And just to be clear, Nicole, do you go out to steakhouses every day for lunch and have cocktails, or am I wrong?
You are very, very wrong. If I move from my desk, it's
right.
a miracle.
I wanted to be clear, not Adam. I don't care what, I know that you do. But go ahead.
When Sean and Cara are having our cocktails and steak, it's only interrupted by how often we're talking about how many times Ray is wrong in his legal advice he provides during the seminars.
I am wrong.
That's what happens at our lunches.
So by far, it was more than one half. Did you get it right, Jennifer?
I was less than one half.
You were,
so.
Oh, but you're going to give away a prize anyway, right?
I will. Absolutely.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. Jennifer, why don't you stay just in case in overtime anybody has any questions, if you can. If you can't, you can't, because I didn't give you any warning. All right, let's talk to our large scale managers. Let's kind of wrap up a little bit here. Tammy, I was at 2 questions. One was, what is your biggest water problem? Man, you have a huge dam. I wish we had a picture of it. And 2, topic ideas. So go ahead.
So my topic idea, I think it should be called Secrets to Your Success. And people could just share tips on how they feel they manage their day or how they manage their boards. I think that would be a good large scale topic. And as far as my lake or my dam, apparently we have the safest dam in South Carolina. Now, do I know that's a written fact? I don't, but I've been told that. We have an extremely large dam. We also have a spillway and then an emergency spillway. And our emergency spillway is 16 feet tall. I don't know how wide, but in the 100-year flood, it didn't even touch it. So we are told by DHEC and those in power that we have a great dam.
This is a big dam. Okay. Chris, real quick, water issue, short version if you can, and then also, what about a future topic idea?
Yeah, water issue. The original developer, Bully Rock, behind a lot of our homes, the swales are just not, they're not leveled the way that they should be. And then also because there wasn't a lot of compliance going on in the early days, people liked to build things in the area that the HOA owns where the swale is. So that's created a lot of issues. So now we're kind of having to go back retroactively and say, you have to remove your improvements from these areas, and then we have to regrade a lot of the swale areas so water actually flows where it's supposed to flow. So that's interesting. And then
I'll ask Matt what a swell is after and overtime, but go ahead.
Yeah, and then for a topic, I actually just wrote an article for our Chesapeake chapter, and I'm really big on reserves. I use reserve advisors. Matt, I'm sure you're familiar with Lisa Pham. I drive her nuts, but we just had ours updated, and I would call it pay now or pay later, right? Because a lot of associations, a lot of boards, committees, they don't want to pay for something because it's so expensive. Well,
right.
that $1 million expense now, how much is that going to be if you wait 3 years?
Okay.
Right. So either way, you're going to pay.
Yeah. Those are common topics so far for anybody, which is great.
Yeah.
Heather, do you have one that is just for large scale? Now Heather's like, nope, I don't. But go ahead.
I was thinking about policy governance because it's really effective in large scale, but also perhaps meeting conduct when you're facing a large group of owners and they're hostile. There are ways to diffuse that. I'm not sure I'm good at any of them, but there are ways. So those could be interesting.
You know, those are our most popular topics. I think I was telling Dawn a while back, if I just wanted to get views, I would just every live stream I do would be how to deal with terrible people or how to get rid of terrible people. That's exactly what I would end up going with. I just want to watch our time here. Was there any, I got a bunch of more questions here. Let me see if I can get to any of these. How do you guys handle your RFQ inspections? Request, what is RFQ? Matt, what is that? Do you know what it is? I don't.
A request for a quote.
Oh, I thought it was RFPs.
Request for proposal, same thing.
Did you know what it was, Adam? Yeah, Adam didn't know. Okay. All right. Tammy, I meant, you must spend, they must be huge, right? Your request for proposals?
I put them together. I turn them over to my board. They review them. I think that's. Right.
I meant we only got like a minute here, Chris. RFPs, RFQs, man, that must be a big.
Yeah, I mean, same thing as Tammy. Depending on the project and the cost, if it has to go through the committees or not, and then I have a certain threshold that I can just go ahead and move forward with without going to a board or a committee.
Heather, we do this topic all the time, and I'm always shocked. I mean, a lot of managers do a really poor job on this. They don't understand that. Adam, tell me if I'm wrong. In some ways that these things are somewhat like contracts that you're starting off with. Let's let Adam tell me if I'm right or wrong.
You're right. I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. This is where we see a lot of the errors because, you can't just fire off and say, hey, what's the price going to be for this? You can't do that at a large scale association. And a lot of times you're going to need to consult with bring in a consultant to help you prepare the RFP.
Heather, that must be nerve wracking for the projects that you have to deal with.
Yeah, especially the engineering ones. Fortunately, I have a really good engineer. But there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to prepare and eventualities to think of. What would trigger a termination of the contract? How do you get out of it? What do they do? There's a lot to it.
Yeah, I would imagine you guys definitely have a tough job. And I'm looking at I'm getting topic ideas from the audience, which I really appreciate. It's funny. A lot of the topics are the same in general, but I still feel like I should have large scale managers just get together separately really quick. Am I wrong, Chris?
No, not at all. I mean,
okay.
CAI, we have our own network.
All right. Heather, I don't think I'm wrong, and Tammy, right? Large scale, but a lot of the topics are so similar. But I guess we'll dive into ones that are different, and I'll go through these. Yeah. All right. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to stay for overtime. Panel, by all means, go ahead and split if you need to split. I didn't give you guys any warning whatsoever. Nicole, it was nice seeing you. You did such a better job than Dave usually does. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Dawn, would you agree? Dave
I
argues.
would, but I think they're both great.
But Dave argues with me a lot. You would agree, right, Dawn? Like my
I
poll
think
questions.
you argue with Dave a lot.
Okay. Nicole, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Adam,
you.
as always, you spend a lot of time. Chris and Heather and Tammy, I think you guys are amazing. I think large scale. And one other topic somebody wants me to bring up, and I'll do that for next time, is why do they feel high-rise managers get paid the right amount, but they don't feel large scale managers do, right? Because you guys run these big communities and you should get paid more. High rises, though, they seem more comfortable paying people more money because I guess they see this big building. But I know for a fact that you guys are also dealing with a lot of complicated issues. Matt, you're going to stay. Jennifer, could you stay? Dawn, I don't have too many insurance questions. You can stay if you want. Anybody could stay, or you could go. But I do want to let our high-rise managers take off because I don't want to abuse their time.
Yeah,
Chris,
no,
thank you.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead. I just
1
want to say
minute.
real quick.
Let me wrap up. Let the high-rise managers go. Thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. And Nicole, it was
Large-scale
great
managers.
having you also. Large scale.
Large scale.
What did I say?
High rise.
I just did it myself. Okay. Thank you so much, Chris. All right.
I know what
Much
you meant.
appreciated. All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.